Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scrappy Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ritchie, and I'm very excited about our guest this week because she works in an area of film production that's always been of interest to me since I was young, and I think a lot of people are sort of fascinated by this. We have with us today Katie Waters, who is a Foley artist. Katie, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So let's hear about it. How does one become a Foley artist these days?
From my experience, I got my foot in the door in a post-sound facility, and Foley is under the umbrella of post-production sound. So when post-production sound teams are brought in, they might have to hire Foley separately. Like not every post-sound team has a Foley team. They might have an actual Foley team that is its own Foley studio and Foley company that they get hired third party basically. Where I work, we wear a lot of hats. We're small, we're scrappy. I kind of got my foot in the door in an administrative position. And the owners knew because I went through their internship program that I went to film school, took a lot of post-production classes. One of the owners was a sound mixing for cinema professor. He was one of my instructors, which is how I heard about the internship. Got in the internship at that studio, and then when they had a position open up, because it actually when I graduated in 2011, the sound positions were very hard to come by, and it was a recession, much like it is now. All the positions were taken. So you had to either freelance or wait your turn, be patient. I had to start paying my student loans back, so I got an administrative assistant job at an architecture firm. I had no interest in architecture. I simply was just like, gotta pay the bills, whatever I can do. And I kind of was looking for a 9 to 5, something that had decent pay because I lived in a large city. I, had to be able to kind of feed myself and, pay the bills. So yeah, I got a desk job, and then 2 years after I had done 3 internships in post facilities, primarily focusing on sound and letting people know I was very interested in a sound assistant role, or sound editor is really what you're doing. Noise Floor had posted a office manager position, and I was like, that is what I am doing now at the architecture firm, but I want to be in sound. I am meant to be in sound. My husband would tell you now, I would come home crying saying like, I meant to do this. Like I worked so hard. I love it so much. And, I was looking every day and couldn't find anything. And I'm sharing this because it doesn't come for everyone very quickly. You really have to keep at it and just stay focused on the end goal. And I never lost sight of that. But when I saw that office manager position, I was like, I'm doing it. They know me. I've kept in touch with them, and I really had, like, I would check in with them, and I saw that position and got an interview, and I was like, I want to be in the sound world. Like, you guys know this, my goal is to be on the creative side of it, but I'm doing this and I can do the administrative stuff with my eyes closed. Like I can do it. So I got my foot in the door, and then 10 years after that, that's where I ended up doing Foley full time. That's like a really quick answer for me.
So for independent filmmakers out there who maybe have never worked with a Foley artist, maybe they think that's outside of their budget, walk me through the steps for someone that hasn't used a Foley artist before and how they should go about doing that.
Sure. Yeah. I believe that the best end product will result in having those conversations as early on as pre-production. You could go sooner when you're writing your script if you just want to start talking about sound ideas. If you're just not a sound oriented person. I mean, we've worked with so many storytellers that they're just so unfamiliar with it, and they're such a visual artist, and it's really hard to articulate what they're looking for. It could be the script phase. The latest I would do it is in pre-production when you're putting your budget together. Treat it. That's part of the filmmaking process. Get some quotes from, you can reach out and get quotes from people, from companies, or if there's like a one person that does the post sound for everything, and they even do the Foley. If they're kind of working out of their basement, get a quote from them, because your sound and your music, which music is a separate budget, it's not lumped into sound. That is also a misconception. Those are two completely separate roles. You have a composer and you have a post-production sound team.
People tend to lump audio together as just audio, whereas if you're on the visual side, you would think of your shoot and say visual effects or special effects as two different parts of the budget, right? And so that idea of music is a completely separate thing, and should be treated that way rather than trying to lump everything together. I think that's important for people to keep in mind. With the quotes, is it based on the script? Is it the genre? What kind of goes into knowing, whether this is going to cost X or 10 times X from a Foley standpoint?
Definitely the script is going to be the most valuable piece of information to help quote if you don't have anything else. Like if you have like some previous stuff that you can share, or pitch decks to kind of show like other film references that have similar tones. But really the script is going to tell us, how much dialogue is there, how many locations, how many characters. Horror is super sound driven, obviously, so those tend to have a lot of Foley. Actions can have a lot of Foley, but those can also work with sound effects. The sound effects post sound effects editor. If it's more of a drama, dramas can have a lot of Foley. But if the production sound is usable and you're not doing so there's also like technical deliverables, and they have to be provided in a standard way that follows certain specifications, and every distribution company is going to require different deliverables. This is why you hire professionals and you budget for them, because they know what they're doing. They know when they look at a deliverable list what the differences are from distribution company A to distribution company B. It all depends on where the film is going, if it's going to a theatrical or streaming release, and the type of audio formats. Is it Dolby Atmos? Is it surround sound? Is it just stereo? There's all these other file formats, and a mixer, a re-recording mixer that takes the Foley and the dialogue, the music, and they mix it, and they're the ones that output the final audio. They're the ones that are making the deliverables, the audio deliverables, and then giving them to like the offline editor to finish the final film. There is a deliverable that is called an MNE. It stands for Music and Effects, which is used for foreign distribution. So say there's a film that's in English, and we'll say horror. It's in English. That's the domestic language. The film gets distribution, and they wanna play the film in Germany. So they are going to dub, or they're going to re-record the dialogue in the German language. So they're going to take that music and effects mix that does not have dialogue in it. It only has music and effects in it. And then distribution is going to handle getting the German actors and record the German language so it makes sense for a German audience. And then they'll plop that German dialogue on top of the M&E and make a new foreign mix.
One thing I wanted to touch on, when I think Foley artist, I think sort of the trope of the coconuts and the horse galloping. I'm curious if you could give us a little bit of sense. I'm sure there are still some very traditional things that are done, but what does it look like to be a Foley artist in 2026? And maybe if there's a misconception that people have about what you do.
I would say that today, like, it's still like the Foley stages still look like a mess of a junkyard. They're not clean and organized. Like they try, we try to be organized, like on our stage. And I've learned from other Foley artists, because our Foley stage is pretty new. It's only been around for 5 years. So, we had a really small space to work with. Um, and I think that's maybe one thing that, uh, they used to be massive, and there are still some massive ones. But now people can do it out of their homes. We had COVID. We had to continue to work on projects.
Did you put the pit in your house? Did you have the
No, I hate to say this, but there's even like digital Foley libraries, where you use a MIDI keyboard, and that's and the luckily I didn't work from home as long as most of the world, because the studio I work at, we're so small, we were under 10 people. So we were able to go back to the office pretty quickly. I think we were home working from home for 2 months. But yeah, so there's digital Foley steps you that are out there to use, which that used to not be a thing. So that's different now. There's also probably, like, if you do work at a big studio, like maybe they've uh, saved some of the recordings of previous recorded footsteps, and then they put them into a library so people can cut those in. I mean, on the stage, it's like I try to keep things organized, like in bins, like with like sounds. Like I have kind of like a box papery section. I've got my books paper section, a jewelry. I have like a high school bin with like cigarettes and makeup and just stuff, because I do so much like coming of age sort of stories, and everybody smokes in indie films. That I think is a thing that if you don't have someone smoking, you're not making an indie. I would say, as far as like a misconception about Foley, is that when you first see it, everybody's like, "Oh, this is so fun! Like it's a playground." And I think, on the surface, what we tell them, you can hide the bad stuff, right? Like, and it really is great. It is because it's performance. Foley is all performance. It's a super physical job. You're an athlete, you're a dancer, and I think that's the misconception that people don't see, is how physically active it is. And uh, it is a skilled trade. I mean, it takes a long time to get good at it or decent, and it's hard on your body. Like I've had issues with my feet, surgery on my thumb, and dealing with stuff with on my legs, and I'm only 37. So, and the more I talk to other Foley artists, they're like, it's part of the trade. Like that's just, people have a lot of foot issues from walking, knee replacements. You're in really awkward positions or on your knees a lot. For me, I have a prop desk, but I also tend to work on the floor. So I'm like looking up at a screen. So like my neck kills, or, oh, I got to grab this. So getting up, getting down, getting up, getting down, getting up, getting down, running in place, holding your breath. You have to be able to hold your breath. You're 2 feet away from a microphone and running in place.
It
Um,
reminds me a little bit of puppeteering in that sense, where that's a very physical job, but what you see is, oh, wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be fun to be Kermit?
yeah,
much like a good video editor, you know, frequently the better you're doing your job, the less noticeable it is. So I'm curious how you, um, where you get your satisfaction from knowing a job was well done, when you're working in Foley.
Yeah, I mean, I get the satisfaction just from performing, and I think that's the actor in me, but also like if we're doing, I think it's satisfaction by drama, or sorry, by genre. So depending on the genre of the thing that we're working on, like there's these genre beats of sounds that you do. And when you get to a moment where you're like, okay, this is the genre, this is the tone, this is the moment where this will be used, or like this is where it's, yes, it's going, you just know it's going to be used. Um, and when you do it and you listen back and you're like, yep, that's it. Like you go with your gut. I used to ask veteran Foley artists when I started, like, how do you know? How do you know when it's good? Like, I just wanted to be good. And you just got to go with your gut. Like, if you believe it, you know, the audience will, you know, you just gotta believe in that, believe in yourself. It's, I had a lot of imposter syndrome and I still do.
Hmm.
I think a lot of, the more I listen to podcasts myself, I listen to a lot of actor podcasts, and like sound podcasts. And it seems like there's a lot of people out there that have imposter syndrome. And I didn't know I had it until the words started getting thrown around, and you know, just not being confident. And I think too, because Foley, you don't have a school. You know, I read books like sound books. There's a Foley book called the Foley Grail, and there's like two different editions. There's an old one, there's a newer one that came out within the last 5 years, where they interviewed a lot of like play Foley artists and video game Foley artists. Watch behind the scenes stuff, just watch movies with an ear listening at the footsteps and how they sound, or just listening at sound effects, and just listening to the sound, just watching the movie with a different lens. And I that's kind of how I studied. And then there was also like a really cool Foley artist group on Facebook called Foley Artist. And during COVID, it people got really active on it, and like asking a lot of questions and stuff. And I learned a lot just by reading old threads or like asking new questions as I was working. And but the more, once I took all that knowledge, but also just started working, I learned a lot by doing that. I think I got a lot better by doing the Foley. Um, but yeah, the satisfaction really comes, I think, when it's when you're whatever genre you're doing and you have those moments that are like, this tells us this is a drama. This tells us this is a comedy. This is the big comedic moment. This has to be right. Um, like for a comedy, if you do it and you laugh, then you're like, it's good. Like I had one comedy where some guy is hiding from someone, and the guy that was chasing him leaves the room. So he's like, oh, I'm in the clear. And he gets up and he hits his head on these pots in the kitchen that were hanging. And, you know, we recorded just like a couple different textures of pots being hit, and we played the scene back, and me and the mixer laughed, like, and that's when we knew, like, okay, we're good, we can move on, you know. Same thing with gore. When things are actually with gore, like usually as I'm recording, like I'm probably making faces like, this is so gross sounding, and that's when I'm like, it's gross but satisfying, I know it's working. Like, you know. And then you play it back and you're like, oh, there's like a little like blood splurt here, let's focus in on that and do something separate, because it's, your eye just gravitates towards it. Um, so, you know, then like once the whole like cue is complete, that's really satisfying. And I used to get like a little bummed, like when hearing, like I would listen to some of the mixes on our mix stage, and the thing is like the next step is the mixers with the director, and they're going to do what they want to do, and they're going to choose when to play things loud. Also, music is always going to be almost always going to be louder than Foley, and just bury Foley. And there's going to be so many times you're going to be like, that was like the most physical thing at the time, and then it never gets heard. And I used to get really like bummed, and now, and I can't remember the actress, but there was a podcast where it was a very similar thing she was saying, where she would go home and just kind of mull about like how she could do things better or differently. And over time, she kind of just realized, or she had someone say something to her, like, you just got to leave, like, do your best there and then leave it. And that's all you can do. And I was like, yeah, that's what I need to do. Just like when I'm on the stage, just put in my freaking best when I'm doing it, and then leave it. And it's up to the other people after me, um, to just have moments where it's gonna shine, or or just really be, have its moment for whatever the story is. So I gotta let go, just let it go. Once I'm done with it, be done.
Well, it's all very fascinating to me, and I appreciate you giving us a little more insight into the world of Foley. And I especially appreciate learning a little bit more about how people and when people should reach out to get fully involved in their production, because I think there's this sense of, well, that's added when we're done, so we'll worry about it in post, literally, not giving it much thought ahead of time. So that's some great insight, and I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Once again, my guest today has been Foley artist Katie Waters. You can find out more about her work by visiting syncitkatie.com. Thank you for watching, everyone. And until next time, stay scrappy.